let's open up with a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings. All sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yahshak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yahshua, we thank you once again, Yahweh, for your covering, Yahweh, that you provided throughout the weeks, Yahweh. We thank you for allowing us to have our Feast of Weeks, Yahweh, for giving us another wonderful Sabbath on, Yahweh, almost like a double Shabbat, 2 days of rest back to back. We're thankful, Yahweh. We're thankful for accepting our prayers and hearing our supplication and accepting our offerings, Yahweh, for we offer all that we can, Yahweh, and the best offering is a living offering, which is ourselves, Yahweh. So we continuously offer you that, Yahweh. We offer you that through our obedience, Yahweh, and our works, Yahweh, and our repentance. So we ask that you continually open our eyes to see your narrow path, Yahweh, so we can keep our eye on the prize, Yahweh, and not stray away from you, Yahweh. And we ask that you also open up our understanding, Yahweh, so we can bear more fruit, Yah, so that we can glorify you, Yah. And we also ask that you allow us to see the error in our ways and the errors in one another, so that we can help one another strive towards perfection. Even though we'll never reach perfection in this time, Yahweh, we ask that you help us strive towards, Yahweh, so that we can get to the point where Yahshua HaMashiach can fill the gap, Yahweh, and cover us in all those things that we were not able to accomplish, Yah. Yeah, all these things we humbly come before you, and we thank and we pray through your holy, humble, anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach, in which all praise, majesty, might, and dominion resides here and forevermore. Through you, your majesty, in the name of Yahshua HaMashiach, we thank and pray. Amen. Your phone on speaker? All right, Shalom. My name is Yadon Yashua. My brother West Yashua. Shalom, Ops. How you doing? All right, and the title of today's Bible study is Being Angry and Sinning Not. Being angry and sinning not. And we know Ephesians chapter 4 tells us to be, if we are in a position where we're angered, to allow Yah to own the revenge and the recompense. We have to focus on anger is not an emotion we can get rid of. It's part of life. But just because we are angry does not mean that has to be our ransom for sin, where we use, well, you got me angry, so it's your fault that I'm sinning, or you got me angry, so it's your fault why I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But at the end of the day, there ain't nobody else going to be standing around when you have to see the Father eye to eye, and you're going to be judged for your own actions. He's not going to ask you, well, did the other person make you mad? He's going to ask you, well, who made the decision to do whatever it is you chose to do that wasn't going to bring glory unto the Most High. So I found with me, I know me and a lot of people that come from where I come from, we have really bad tempers. So with that being said, I found
that was something that was really holding me back personally, with relationships, with jobs, with situations, and even in my family, just because my temper was so hot. It caused me a lot of money and a lot of problems. And I realized as I got in the word, a lot of that had to do with lack of humility, lack of being humble. When you look at some of the most humble people, they don't get angry very easily. And when I examined that, I said, let me focus on my humility to help with my anger, because the things that are getting me angry, here's a perfect example. Like somebody cut me off on the highway. I'm ready. I'm angry. I'm furious. I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to start shooting. But at the end of the day, have you cut somebody off before? Of course, we've all done that. Whether it was intentional or accidental, or you in a rush, late for this, or sick, or who knows. But we've all done that before. But we wouldn't want somebody to shoot at us or threaten us or make us feel bad for our mistake. But we do that to others because we have a double standard. It's okay if I do it to you, but it's not okay if you do it to me. And a lot of that produced anger because it was, how dare you do that to me? And it wasn't how dare you do the action, because you would be just as angry when somebody did something to somebody else. But it's not. It's about you. How dare you do that to you? So I know with me, in helping my anger, I had to work on my humility. And as I worked on my humility, I found myself being in situations where I knew that my body is physically fuming, but I had a different spirit about me. It's like it was contained. It's almost like a fire inside that was being contained. And once I realized that it was possible, now I was like, it was almost like learning how to ride a bike. It's like, okay, now I can see. Just because you're angry doesn't mean that you have to allow that to manifest. And when you let that fire go, it's just like a wildfire. You let it go, it's going to continue burning until it destroys everything. So we're going to open up first in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 27, and we're going to see how you're going to have a lot of covetousness, a lot of pride, a lot of things involved in this story that will cause somebody to be angry with another individual. And shalom, brother Yehuda Israel. Good to see you again, fam. And shalom, sister Aquanette Thompson. Good to see you as well. We're opening up in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 27. And, anger is one of those things, after you realize you got an anger problem, you can't go in and year out and you're still having those same exact issues. There's going to be something that you got to have some kind of, growth in that area. Because you can't keep blowing up on people and say, I know I got an anger problem, I'm working on it. No, you got to work on it.
Bereshit, Genesis chapter 27 and verse 1. And it came to pass that when Yishak was old, Isaac, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here I am. And he said, Behold now, I am old, I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, your weapons, your quiver, and your bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison. And make me savory meat such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die.
Okay, so he's trying to eat meat, and he wants to eat meat before he dies, and this is Yitzhak. So we know that patriarchs ate meat. Go ahead.
And Rebekah heard when Yishak spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard your father speak unto Esau your brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless you before Yahweh before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to that which I command thee. And now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father, that he may eat, and that he may bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will fill me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be your curse, my son, only obey my voice and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done according as you bade me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that your soul may bless me. And Yishak came unto his son. And Yishak said unto his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh your Elohim brought it to me. And Yishak said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether you be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto Yishak his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau.
Okay, so now when you have twins, twins have very similar voices. So you wonder, like, how does he know the difference in voices when they have very similar voices? Well, he said, How did you get this venison so quickly? Right. Yahweh, your Elohim, has given it to me. Mm-hmm. So he's like, wait a minute, that sounds like Jacob. This is a spiritual person now talking about, Yahweh now. Esau not going to be talking about Yahweh. Esau is a earthly man. He not thinking about spirituality or the Most High or trying to give credit to anybody else other than himself. So Yitzhak already immediately said, wait, this voice sound like Jacob. You know what I'm saying? As much as I would love for this to be Esau, my son that I like the most because he has all the earthly talents, but you sound a lot like Jacob. Go ahead.
Verse
22.
And Jacob went near unto Yishak his father, and he felt him and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, Art you my son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless you. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank.
All right. So one could say, how could she do this? Because, she's lying to her husband. Right. But Rebekah was told by the angel that the elder shall serve the younger. So she already got the instruction from before they were born what the order was going to be. And the husband, Yitzhak, he's blinded by old age, and he's leaning towards the son that's bringing him more gifts. It says a gift blinds the wise. So he's leaning to this direction, but yet the prophecy already been given who he's going to bless. So Rebekah had to trick Yitzhak into doing righteousness, into blessing the son that's supposed to be blessed. And this is not the first time you've seen, somebody trick somebody into doing something. You also had Tamar had to trick Yehuda to raise up seed. And he said, you have been wiser and more righteous than I. So the Most High will allow the woman to outsmart the man if the man is his own enemy and not doing the thing that Yah has set for him to do. Go ahead.
Verse 26. And his father Yishak said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelt the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which Yahweh has blessed. Therefore Elohim give you the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you. Be master over thy brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone that curses you, and blessed be he that blesses you. And it came to pass, as soon as Yishak had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Yishak, his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father, and said unto his father, Let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, your soul may bless me. And Yishak his father said unto him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. And Yishak trembled very exceedingly, and said, Who? Where is he that has taken venison and brought it to me? And I have eaten of all before you came, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me also, O my father.
So you see Esau's, all of a sudden now he's concerned with his lineage and the spiritual blessing and all this, that, and the other. But yet earlier he ready to trade away his blessing for one meal, for one single meal. Now he understood that if I trade away this meal, that I'm going to go ahead and lose my inheritance. I'm going to lose my blessing. So he lied to Yaakov. He had no intentions, because you see how he's showing up ready to get his blessing and ready to get his inheritance and everything like that. He wasn't trying to hold to the covenant that he had made. So he basically tried to trick Yaakov. And the Most High said, nah, you're not finna trick Yaakov. Yaakov is finna get this blessing. And now he is crying after the fact. After he's now received the punishment, now he's crying. And that's what we do when we don't have a repentant heart. When we have all the opportunity to repent and change and do different things, everything is fine. But then when we get caught, now we want to cry. Go ahead. But it's too late then.
Verse 35. And he said, Your brother came with subtlety and has taken away your blessing. And he said, Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he takes away my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me?
All right, so he didn't necessarily care about the spiritual blessing. He just wants something carnal, like, what you got? Give me something.
Right.
I want your coat, or I want some money, or I want to be in charge of all this, or I want all this land. He wasn't considering the spiritual blessing that came with it. That's why he gave up that birthright like it's nothing, because with that birthright comes that spiritual blessing. And shalom, Sister Tanya and Brother Isaiah. Good to see you.
Verse 37. And Yishak answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him your master, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto you, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Yishak his father answered and said unto him, Behold, your dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shall you live, and shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass, when you shall have the dominion, that you shall break his yoke from off his neck.
Off your neck.
Off your neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob.
All right, so he is angry because he has been outsmarted by his own brother. The same brother he tried to outsmart so he can get a meal. Now all of a sudden, he hates his brother. And that is the spirit of Esau. While you have the debate of, who is Esau now and who's not, and, is he the Arabian or is he the Euro-Gentile, so forth and so on. But at the end of the day, you want to identify Esau. Esau, your twin brother, he looked just like you. And Esau hates his brother without a cause. And Esau is a person that's going to put carnal things like lust of the flesh, lust of, hunger, desires, regular things in this earth over spiritual things in the next world. He'd rather store his treasure here than store his treasure in the next world. And with that comes great haughtiness, lack of humility. And with that lack of humility, he's going to cause him to have an anger where he want to kill his brother because his brother collected on what he already traded fairly. Go ahead.
Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 27 and verse 42. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, your brother Esau, as touching you, does comfort himself, purposing to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice and arise. Flee you to Laban, my brother, to Haran, and tarry with him a few days, until your brother's fury turn away, until your brother's anger turn away from you, and he forget that which you have done to him. Then I will send and fetch you from thence. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? And Rebekah said unto Yishak, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife of the daughters of Heth, such as these which are of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me?
All right. So you look at how this vexed Rebekah so horribly to take daughters of the land, the daughters of Canaan, or the land where they're at. So if you read further, you see this is the exact thing that how you pinpoint Esau. Esau does not do things that pleases the Father, which means to keep these commandments. And he does not do the things which pleases his mother, which is the assembly, which is the family members. He does the exact opposite, the thing that's going to be grievous to his parents, which is not honoring your father and your mother. All right, so let's go to Exodus chapter 2. So you see how quickly Esau gets angry over something that he already traded away. And this is how people operate when they think they're going to get the one up on you for something in some kind of trade. And when they realize the thing they traded for really ain't worth nothing, then they want to double cross you on whatever they traded. Now, well, you know that wasn't a fair trade. No, that was your words. That's what you wanted because you felt like you had to have it right then and there. Let's go to Exodus chapter 2, Shema chapter 2. Because having a bad temper is not an indication of a bad person. I mean, just you got anger, just like any other man. And that's something that you got to work on. Just like being lustful for women, that doesn't mean you're a bad person. That just means something you got to work on. Doesn't mean you can go out there and just sleep with everybody. It's the same thing with your anger. Don't mean you can go out there and fight with everybody. But we all have these urges and desires. They're the lust of the flesh. These are the things that kept us alive from generation to generation in a pure nature standpoint. But at the end of the day, as we become spiritual beings, we have to be in better control of those emotions and use it for its proper time. Exodus, Shema, chapter 2, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
All right. And there went a man of the house of Levi and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could not longer hide him, she took him for an ark of bulrushes and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maids to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the babe wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrews' children.
All right. So when we read in the Old Testament, we see that Hebrews and Egyptians were often confused. Even in the New Testament, they confused Saul with an Egyptian. So we know they look very similar. So we know they were melanin people, obviously. So how would she know that Moshe was a Hebrew? He's just a little boy, a little baby in a bassinet. How would she know?
Verse 7.
Well, that's the question to think about. You have any ideas of how she would know that this was a Hebrew? What's the difference between the Egyptian and the Hebrew, in the males especially?
Circumcision.
Circumcision, exactly. She see a little boy circumcised, and she know the Syrians ain't coming down here. So this is likely a Hebrew, because first of all, she understood what was going on, and who else would be amongst them that would do those type of practices? Hebrews.
Right, that makes sense. All right, verse 7. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call to you a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give you your wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe. And she said, because I drew him not of the water. And it came to pass in those days, when Moshe was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, and looked on their burdens, and he spied an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian and hid him in the sand.
All right. So again, remember we talked about the temper. Usually it has to do with lack of humility. Well, in his situation, this isn't really per se a lack of humility. He's being angered because another one of his brothers is being mistreated. See, that's different. That shows you how meek Moshe was, but he still had that temper. So humility is not enough to quell your temper. You still have to have fear of Yah, and you have to be at a point where you can control that. Because he looked left and he looked right. He felt like nobody was going to catch him. So he slew this Egyptian. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together. And he said to him that did the wrong, wherefore smites you your fellow? And he said, who made you a prince and a judge over us? Intend you to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? And Moshe feared and said, surely this thing is known. Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. And the shepherds came and drove them away. But Moshe stood up and helped them and watered their flock. And when they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how is it that you are come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock.
So again, you see Moshe being confused as an Egyptian. He would have obviously probably been dressed as an Egyptian, being he was in Pharaoh's house. But if Egyptians were some kind of different color or race than Israelites, then how are you going to confuse these people?
Right. Verse 18. And when they came to Reuel, their father...
Verse 20.
Oh, verse 20, yeah. He said unto his daughter, and he said unto his daughters, and where is he? Why is it that you have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. And Moshe was content to dwell with the man, and he gave Moshe Zipporah his daughter. And she bare him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a strange land. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt, Mizraim, died, and the children of Yasharal sighed by reason of the bondage, and they cried, and their cry came up unto Elohim by reason of the bondage. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Yishak, and with Jacob. And Elohim looked upon the children of Yasharal, and Elohim had respect unto them.
All right, and if you want to get some more history about this whole situation with Moshe and with Egypt and what kind of oppressive tactics they were using against the children of Israel, you can go into Book of Yashar and Jubilees. Both of those books will give you history on this. And let me tell you, when you read what they were doing to our kids, they were making the fathers, if they didn't produce enough brick and straw, without having materials, because they stopped giving them materials, they increased the production and said, if you don't make this mark, then we're going to start killing your children. And they were taking children and they were killing children, or they were taking the fathers and having the fathers literally put their children in the walls of these Egyptian temples. So these Egyptian temples that you see in Egypt right now, There's the bones of Hebrews still stuck in these walls where they would build over the children while the child is crying alive. They would build over it. And it says some of them actually went back and took the bones of their child after their child died, after being put bricks and mortar and all. I mean, it was that wicked, the things that they were doing to our people. And we can't take that lightly.
Yeah, that's beyond wicked.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Numbers chapter 20, because at the end of the day, when you are in a situation where your anger is so infuriating, the best thing you can do is separate the angry party from the thing that's causing them to be angry, because you can only hold so much in to the point where you just snap, you lose it. Everybody has a breaking point. The thing we want to try to do is to prevent ourselves from getting close to that limit, because once it breaks, nobody going to be able to help. The situation is done. So what Yahweh did is Yahweh created laws to help protect a humble man who may have been in a bad situation, you know, where, like, for example, somebody hit your family member with a car that was being careless. You might be angry and try to kill that person because you're in that much pain. So Yahweh had to create laws to kind of protect the innocent man and also protect the person that did something by accident, as well as protect the person who's been hurt by somebody else who was a slave. So we're in Numbers, Bamidbar, chapter 20, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Then came the children of Yasharal, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin in the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh. And Miriam died there and was buried there. And there was no water for the congregation, and they gathered themselves together against Moshe and against Aaron. And the people chode with Moshe and spake, saying, If only that we had died when our brethren died before Yahweh. And why have you brought up the congregation of Yahweh into this wilderness, that we and our cattle should die there? And wherefore have you made us to come up out of Mitzrayim to bring us unto this evil place? It is no place of seed, or of figs, or of vines, or of pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. And Moshe and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they fell upon their faces, and the glory of Yahweh appeared unto them. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Take the rod and gather you the assembly together, you and Aaron your brother, and speak you unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water, and you shall bring forth to them water out of the rock. So you shall give the congregation and their beasts drink.
Okay, so he asked Moshe in verse 8, he said, Speak you unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water. So, you know, when you do something that Yahweh tells you to do, but you do it the way you want to do it, you have now flawed the sacrifice. You have burnt up your works. Go ahead.
And Moshe took the rod from before Yahweh as he commanded him. And Moshe and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said unto them, Hear now, you rebels, must we fetch your water out of this rock? And Moshe lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice. And the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank, and their beasts also.
All right, so now he's saying, Hear you now, you rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? Yahweh's fetching his water out of the rock. So he's starting to get beside himself a little bit. And he's being angered, not because of him, not because of humility or pride. He's getting angry because they're disrespecting Yahweh. Yahweh's done all these things and they're doing nothing but murmuring, just extending his trip. And he's like, man, this is a 40 day trip or whatever. I just want to get there and relax. But y'all have us walking around the wilderness for all these years.
Right.
So he ends up smoting the rock. And when he smote the rock, after he was told to talk to the rock, his anger caused him to alter the instructions that Yahweh gave him. And that's what the devil would try to do, is just get you in your flesh so you can alter slightly the instructions that you're supposed to do. For example, you're supposed to help somebody with something and the adversary gets you angry and now you pissed off. Come on, let's go. Let's do this. Man, I hate helping you. You always waiting. Now you complain doing this. You done burnt up your works. When Yahweh say go over here and help somebody, do unto others as you want done to you. You don't want nobody complaining to you when you need them for something and you complaining. And then on top of that, he did it twice. So he smote the rock. He should have stopped there and said, wait a minute. He said, talk to the rock. Mm-hmm. Then he smote it again. So that even caused some disbelief because now they're like, oh, wait, maybe Yahweh can't do this. Right. Then he did it again. Go ahead.
Verse 12. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe and Aaron, because you believe me not to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Yasharal, therefore you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. This is the water of Meribah, because the children of Yasharal strove with Yahweh, and he was sanctified in them.
All right. So he said, because Yahweh said, because you failed to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Yasharal. You were supposed to speak unto the rock. You were supposed to do this thing gently. And Yahweh is supposed to create a miracle. But instead, you lost your patience with them and you smoked the thing. And now you're dealing with the rock violently. You're dealing with the word violently. The rock represents the Mashiach, from out living waters flow. And the rock represents this word, this foundation. And now you're using it violently. You're using it forcefully instead of speaking it and allowing Yahweh to do it. You put your own emphasis into it. And it's the same thing with this word. When we speak that word to somebody and we try to beat the word into their head, it's just like us beating that rock. It's the same principle because now we're trying to put ourselves into it instead of allowing Yahweh to do the miracle so that he can get all the glory. So let's stop right there. Let's go to Tehillim, Psalms chapter 37.
Psalms, Tehillim, chapter 37 and verse 1. Fret not yourself because of evildoers, neither be you envious against the workers of iniquity. For they shall soon be cut down like the grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in Yahweh and do good. So shall you dwell in the land, and verily you shall be fed. Delight yourself also in Yahweh, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way unto Yahweh, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass.
All right. So 4 and 5. Delight yourself also in Yahweh, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. So when you're involving Yahweh in everything that you do, he's going to give you the desires of your heart, because you're not going to put Yahweh's name into something like, yeah, let's go rob this guy. And yeah, we're going to do this for Yahweh. Nah, that ain't going to work. But then it also says, commit your way unto Yahweh. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. So always put Yahweh in front of everything that you do. That way you can consider what it is that you're doing. So when you're doing things out of anger, you have to ask yourself, can I commit this to Yah? This act, I'm ready to call this person and cuss him out. Can I commit that to Yah? Am I delighting myself in Yah, or am I delighting myself in my flesh? Because my flesh is boiling. It's feeling like I can't let anything slide. I got to make sure they get this get back. You're not committing that to Yahweh. So this is an easy way to quell and deal with your anger, because when you get into a position where you're so angry and you just want to do something, you can stop for a second and say, hey, is this going to bring glory unto the Most High, what I'm about to do or what I'm about to say? Or is this going to gratify my flesh? Go ahead.
Verse 6. And he shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your judgment as the noonday. Rest in Yahweh, and wait patiently for him. Fret not yourself because of him who prospers in his way, because of the man who brings wicked devices to pass.
And we got to remember that in business as well. We see all the people around us making money doing this and doing that. And as a Hebrew business owner, we like, well, we can't work on Shabbat. We can't charge interest to our brothers. We can't, work on these holy days like we had Pentecost. We had certain things with Kodesh Fresh I couldn't do. I had to wait till Sunday night. because it was double Shabbats. So these type of things, don't worry. In your time, wait patiently on Yah. In your time, you're going to get the orders. You're going to get the things that you thought that you missed. The same way they got in the wilderness with manna. With those that collected on the 6th day had enough for the 7th day and the 6th day. Go ahead.
Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself in any wise to do evil. For evildoers shall be cut off. But those that wait upon Yahweh, they shall inherit the earth.
And sometimes waiting on Yahweh is, I'm so angry right now. I really want to handle this situation. But I'm going to wait on Yahweh. I'm going to let the devil flee from me because he's ready to use my flesh to go do something to bring shame and blasphemy to the Most High. Let me wait on Yah so I can quell my temper, and then he's going to allow the Holy Spirit to guide me what I need to do. But when we are angry, now we ready to go now. I need to tell you now. If you angry, the thing that you angry about, you ain't going to forget about it in an hour from now, what you want to tell the person. But nah, we want to make sure that that anger don't quell down and get that immediate gratification. And immediate gratification usually ends up in some permanent problems. Go ahead.
Verse 10. For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be. Yea, you shall diligently consider his place, and it shall not be. But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace.
So let's look at the meek. What's the meek? What's the Strongs for meek in verse 11?
6035.
All right, so H6035 is meek. And the Hebrew word for that is anah. Anah, A-N-A-W, H6035. And that is by intermixture with 6041 and 6031. Depressed in mind, gentle or circumstances, needy, especially saintly, humble, lowly, meek, poor. All right, go ahead, brother.
Verse 12. The wicked plots against the just, and gnashes upon him with his teeth. My sovereign shall laugh at him, for he sees that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword, and have bent their bow, to cast down the poor and needy, and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. A little that a righteous man has is better than the riches of many wicked.
So if these are the words inspired of the Most High, then we have to trust these things. It says, the wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor, the needy, and to slay such that be of an upright manner of life. And their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be breaking. So you don't have to go out there and recompense everybody for the deeds that they do against you. Doesn't mean you allow them to continue doing things against you, but you don't have to recompense, because at the end of the day, you're going to reap what you sow. Just like you do righteousness, you're going to reap a righteous reward. They do wickedness, they're going to reap a wicked reward, just like we reaped when we did wickedness. Go ahead.
For the arms of the wicked shall be broken, but Yahweh upholds the righteous. Yahweh knows the day of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. But the wicked shall perish, and the enemies of Yahweh shall be as the fat of lambs. They shall consume it into smoke, shall they consume away. The wicked borrows and pays not again, but the righteous shows mercy and gives. For such as be blessed of him shall inherit the earth, and they that be cursed of him shall be cut off. The steps of a good man are ordered by Yahweh, and he delights in his way.
So if you are a righteous man, a good man, then your steps are ordered by Yahweh. And he delights in Yah's way, which means if we want to be considered a good man, then we got to learn what are the ways of Yah. Does Yah automatically just strike us down every time we committed a transgression out of his anger? And if anybody got a right to be angry, is Yahweh. Because Yahweh hasn't done anything wrong to us. Everything we did to ourselves. All he did is say, okay, you agree? I agree? Good. All right. And then he's like, well, you agreed to this. And then on top of that, he's not giving us the full payment of what we agreed to, which is death. He's giving us time, grace. So at the end of the day, We have to allow for our steps to be ordered by Yahweh, which means we know Yahweh is not going to order us to go commit transgression against somebody that we wouldn't commit if we weren't angry at the time. Go ahead.
Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for Yahweh upholds him with his hand.
So even the good man is going to fall. It says a just man falls 7 times. So it's not for you to judge the man because he fell. Go ahead.
I have been young, and now am old. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread.
All right, I was going to reference that same one. That same one for in the evil time, in the days of famine, they shall be satisfied. In verse 19, all those go hand in hand. I've been young, and now I'm old. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. So you want to make sure that your family got food to eat. You want to make sure that your people are not forsaken. Then walk in righteousness. That way you won't be hungry in the time of famine, because you can sit up here and store up all these things you want. What fire can catch a hold of it, thieves, animals break in, so forth and so on.
Verse 26. He is ever merciful and lends, and his seed is blessed. Depart from evil and do good. Dwell forevermore. For Yahweh loves judgment and forsakes not his saints. They are preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked shall be cut off. The righteous shall inherit the land and dwell therein forever. The mouth of the righteous speaks wisdom, and his tongue talks of judgment. The law of his Elohim is in his heart, none of his steps shall slide. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seeks to slay him. Yahweh will not leave him in his hand, nor condemn him when he is judged. Wait on Yahweh and keep his way, and he shall exalt you to inherit the land when the wicked are cut off. You shall see it. I have seen the wicked in great power and spreading himself like a green bay tree. Yet he passed away, and lo, he was not. Yea, I sought him, but he could not be found. Mark the perfect man and behold the upright, for the end of that man is peace.
And that peace that you have is the peace knowing that no matter what happens or what somebody does to you, you can maintain your peace. You have a hedge of protection that's protecting you from anger and wrath, from penetrating you, causing you to transgress. You'll say, you know what? You can't control me. You can't steal my peace. You can't change my mood. I don't like what you did, but I'm going to remove myself from this situation. I'm not going to allow you to invade my spirit. And with this righteous man, he's going to end in that shalom, in that peace. Go ahead.
But the salvation of the righteous is of Yahweh. He is their strength.
Verse 38.
Oh, okay. Verse 38. But the transgressors shall be destroyed together. The end of the wicked shall be cut off. But the salvation of the righteous is of Yahweh. He is their strength in the time of trouble. And Yahweh shall help them and deliver them. He shall deliver them from the wicked and save them because they trust in him.
All right. Let's go to Numbers by Midbar chapter 35. And we're going to get to those laws pertaining to how to stop wrath. By Midbar, chapter 35. Numbers, chapter 35. And we're going to start this at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, Command the children of Yasharal that they give unto the Levites of the inheritance of their possession cities to dwell in. And you shall give also unto the Levites suburbs for the cities round about them. And the cities shall they have to dwell in, and the suburbs of them shall be for their cattle, and for their goods, and for all their beasts. And the suburbs of the cities which you shall give unto the Levites shall reach from the wall of the city and outward 1,000 cubits round about. And you shall measure from without the city on the east side 2,000 cubits, and on the south side 2,000 cubits, and on the west side 2,000 cubits, and on the north side 2,000 cubits. And the city shall be in the midst. This shall be to them the suburbs of the cities. And among the cities which you shall give unto the Levites, there shall be 6 cities for refuge, which you shall appoint for the manslayer, that he may flee there. And to them you shall add 42 cities. So all the cities which you shall give to the Levites shall be 48 cities. Them shall you give with their suburbs. And the cities which you shall give shall be the possession of the children of Yasharal, from them that have many. From them that have many you shall give many, but from them that have few you shall give few. Every one shall give of his cities unto the Levites according to his inheritance, which he inherited. And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Yasharal, and say unto them, When you be come over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall appoint you cities to be cities of refuge for you, that the slayer may flee there, which kills any person at unawares.
All right, so that's the difference between a murderer and a slayer, and a manslayer. A manslayer killed somebody accidentally. They call it like manslaughter almost. It's an accidental, maybe some negligence or just a bad situation. We know what happens with murder. Murder has a death penalty. But here, he's given an opportunity for somebody that did something accidentally for murder not to spread, or innocent blood to be shed further in the cities of Yasharal.
Verse 12, And they shall be unto you cities for refuge from the avenger, that the manslayer die not, until he stand before the congregation in judgment. And of these cities which you shall give, 6 cities shall you have for refuge. You shall give 3 cities on this side of Jordan, and 3 cities shall you give in the land of Canaan, which shall be cities of refuge. These 6 cities shall be a refuge, both for the children of Yasharal, and for the stranger, and for the sojourner among them, that everyone that kills any person unawares may flee there. And if he smite him with an instrument of iron, so that he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. And if he smite him with throwing a stone, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. Or if he smite him with a hand weapon of wood, wherewith he may die, and he die, he is a murderer. The murderer shall surely be put to death. The revenger of blood himself shall slay the murderer. When he meets him, he shall slay him. But if he thrust him of hatred, or hurl at him by laying in wait, that he die, or in enmity smite him with his hand, that he die, he that smote him shall surely be put to death. For he is a murderer. The revenger of blood shall slay the murderer when he meets him. But if he thrust him suddenly without enmity, or have cast upon him anything without laying of wait, or with any stone wherewith a man may die, seeing him not, and cast it upon him that he die, and was not his enemy, neither sought his harm, then the congregation shall judge between the slayer and the revenger of blood according to these judgments. And the congregation shall deliver the slayer out of the hand of the revenger of blood, and the congregation shall restore him to the city of his refuge, where he was fled. And he shall abide in it unto the death of the high priest, which was anointed with the holy oil.
So the Most High gave him a hedge of protection. Stay inside that hedge of protection. You have found yourself in a situation. There's an adversary that wants to kill you. Stay here, and you're protected by the laws of the Most High. But if you step outside of that hedge, see what happens.
Verse 26. But if the slayer shall at any time come without the border of the city of his refuge, where he was fled, and the revenger of blood find him without the borders of the city of his refuge, and the revenger of blood kill the slayer, he shall not be guilty of blood.
So you step outside of that hedge and you get killed, that's on you. So the adversary of the devil operates the same way. Look here, y'all, you gave them this garden. They decided to step outside the hedge by disobeying you. You gave them these laws, statutes, and judgments to be a hedge of protection about them. They decided to come out there, and the law said if they come out, I can kill them. Go ahead.
Because he should have remained in the city of his refuge until the death of the high priest, but after the death of the high priest, the slayer shall return unto the land of his possession. So these things shall be for a statute of judgment unto you throughout your generations in all your dwellings. Whoso kills any person, the murderer shall be put to death by the mouth of witnesses. but one witness shall not testify against any person to cause him to die. Moreover, you shall take no satisfaction for the life of a murderer, which is guilty of death, but he shall surely be put to death.
So you're not supposed to take satisfaction, which means you're not supposed to be cheering and like, you know, how they used to hang us some trees and they would make postcards and mail that to people. And, you know, it'd be a big town event. Everybody's, oh, yeah, celebrating or whatever. Or it's the same thing with us. When we see the enemy get murdered or killed, we're not supposed to enjoy that because we're supposed to have mercy to the point where this person can't repent any longer. This person is going to die an enemy and die a transgressor. Whereas, who knows? Something could have changed in his life to cause that person to repent. So we shouldn't enjoy that, knowing what's going to come after that. Go ahead.
And you shall take no satisfaction for him that is fled to the city of his refuge, that he should come again to dwell in the land until the death of the priest. So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are, for blood it defiles the land, and the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it.
So it takes the blood of the blood shedder to cleanse the land. So imagine all these nations that have been shedding our blood that came against us, and all those nations that occupied us shedding our blood. The only way our land could be cleansed is by their blood. Now it makes sense with Isaiah chapter 63 when he's talking about his garments are dyed in red. And when in Revelation, when it talks about blood being all the way to the bridle of the horse, which is the mouth area of the horse. That's a lot of bloodshed. And it's going to have to be a lot of bloodshed to atone for all that innocent blood that was shed in the land of Yasharal. Go ahead.
Defile not therefore the land which you shall inhabit, wherein I dwell, for I, Yahweh, dwell among the children of Yasharal.
Remember when Cain slew Abel, his blood cried out to Yahweh in the land. All right. Let's go to Exodus, Shemot chapter 23. And we're going to read 1 through 13. And we're going to see more laws of righteousness that Yah has in place to kind of help us with our tempers, to help keep us righteous. If we focus on righteousness, we can quell that temper. Shemot, Exodus chapter 23, and we're only going to read verses 1 through 13.
Shemot, Exodus chapter 23 and verse 1. You shall not raise a false report, but put not your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shall you speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Neither shall your countenance Neither shall you countenance a poor man in his cause. If you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him again.
Let's see what that word is. What's that word for countenance in verse 3?
H1921.
H1921. So it says to countenance a man in his a poor man. What verse is that? Verse 3?
3.
So you shall not countenance a poor man in his cause. And the Hebrew word for that was hadar. Hadar. That's Hadar. H1921. And that is to swell up, by implication to favor or honor or be high or proud. Crooked place, glorious, honor, put forth. So it's saying don't swell up a poor man in his cause. All right.
Verse 5. If you see the donkey of him that hates you lying under his burden and would forbear to help him, you shall surely help with him.
All right. So he's putting a law here. It says if you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him. Just because you are angry at somebody or because they're your enemy does not excuse you from doing righteousness. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Because what about that animal? The animal still needs to be taken care of. Do you at least have mercy and compassion for the animal? And if it's not the ox or the donkey, replace that with anything that belongs to that man. If something belongs to him, he dropped his license in the street or he did this and did that, and you can do that and give that to him safely without getting killed, then you do what you got to do. Because what this do is maybe he misjudged you. Oh, wow, I wouldn't have done that if I saw your ox walking down the way. I'd have let him get hit by a car. But you are a better man than me, so maybe I need to rethink about how I think about you. Maybe you're not such a bad guy. Let me consider that. Go ahead.
You shall not rest the judgment of your poor in his cause. Keep you far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay you not, for I will not justify the wicked. And you shall take no gift, for the gift blinds the wise, and perverts the words of the righteous. Also you shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, seeing you were strangers in the land of Mitzrayim, Egypt.
And we are strangers everywhere we go, because we have no homeland. Everybody else got a homeland to go to, but we strangers. Everybody got a nationality, got a continent and a place within the continent, and a language and a last name. Everybody got all that but us. So we know the heart of a stranger, so we should be the last to afflict or oppress anybody that's in our situation that's not from where we from or part of our family. Go ahead.
And 6 years you shall sow your land, and shall gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie still, that the poor of your people may eat. And what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner you shall deal with your vineyard and with your olive yard. 6 days you shall do your work, and on the 7th day you shall rest, that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the son of your handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the name of other mighty ones, neither let it be heard out of your mouth.
All right, so if it's telling us not to make mention of other mighty ones, then why are we sitting here calling on the Lord when we know Lord is Baal in Hebrew? They tricked us into try to mention the names of these other pagan entities, when we have clear commandments to say don't even mention, don't even discuss, don't even talk about it. Let's go to Proverbs 19, Mishlei chapter 19.
Proverbs chapter 19, Mishlei, and verse 1. Better is the poor that walks in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Also, that the soul be without knowledge, it is not good, and he that hastes with his feet sins. The foolishness of man perverts his way, and his heart frets against Yahweh. Wealth makes many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaks lies shall not escape. Many will entreat the favor of the prince, and every man is a friend to him that gives gifts. All the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? He pursues them with words, yet they are wanting to him. He that gets wisdom loves his own soul. He that keeps understanding shall find good. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaks lies shall perish.
Now, when they keep repeating certain things, that means pay attention. Again, a false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaks lies shall not escape. Verse 9, again, a false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaks lies shall perish. Go ahead.
Delight is not seemly for a fool, much less for a servant to rule over princes. The discretion of a man defers his anger, and it is in his glory to pass over a transgression.
All right. The discretion of a man defers his anger. So that's what we have to learn. We got to learn discretion. We got to learn to look at a matter and to hold that back. Let's look at that word for discretion. Verse 11, what's the Strong's?
H7922.
All right. H7922. And the word for that is sakel, which is H7922, spelled Sekel. And that is intelligence. By implication, success, discretion, knowledge, policy, prudence, sense, understanding, wisdom, and wise. So the intelligence of a man, which is your discretion, defers his anger. So he's holding back his anger, and it is his glory to pass over transgression. You know what? You've just transgressed against Yahweh, but I'm not gonna join you in transgression by committing a sin because I'm angry. I'm gonna pass over this and maybe talk to you about it, or if you can't listen to me, maybe I'll pray about it. But I'm not gonna join you in transgression. Go ahead.
Verse 12. The king's wrath is as the roaring of a lion, but his favor is as dew upon the grass. A foolish son is the calamity of his father, and the contentions of a wife are a continual dropping. House and riches are the inheritance of fathers, and a prudent wife is from Yahweh. Slothfulness casts into a deep sleep, and idle soul shall suffer hunger. He that keeps the commandment keeps his own soul, but he that despises his ways shall die. He that has pity upon the poor lends unto Yahweh, and that which he has given will he pay him again. Chasten your son while there is hope, and let not your soul spare for his crime. A man of great wrath shall suffer punishment, for if you deliver him, yet you must do it again. Hear counsel and receive instruction, that you may be wise in the latter end.
All right. So a man of great wrath shall suffer punishment. For if you deliver him, yet you must do it again. So we don't want to be a man of great wrath. We men used to take pride in that, and they temper, if you do this to me, my temper is such. But at the end of the day, you just going to be continually suffering punishment. Because you tell a man, hey, listen, you can't do that. You can't just act this way when you're angry. If he's a man of great wrath, yeah, you might quell it this time. But as soon as you leave, he's going to go back and do it again. And when he does that, it's just a matter of time before he does something that's going to be transgression. And then he's going to have to suffer the punishment for that. So we don't want anybody to have that much power over us that their wrath, their actions can control us and push our buttons to the point where the wrath is coming out, causing us to suffer punishment.
Verse 21. There are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of Yahweh, that shall stand. The desire of a man is in his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. The fear of Yahweh tends to life, and he that has it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil. A slothful man hides his hand in his bosom, and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. Smite a scorner, and the simple will beware, and reprove one that has understanding, and he will understand knowledge. He that wastes his father and chases away his mother is a son that causes shame and brings reproach. Cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causes to err from the words of knowledge. An evil witness scorns judgment, and the mouth of the wicked devours iniquity. Judgments are prepared for scorners, and stripes for the back of fools.
All right. And those stripes for the back of fools, it can be stripes that we deal with and we take if we allow our anger and wrath to make us think foolishly. Because many of us are wise when we're untroubled or unbothered, but then when we get angry, we become foolish all of a sudden. Now we fighting with police, or we shooting at cars, or we ready to fight 5, 6 different people, knowing that we probably can't handle 2 people. But we become foolish when we get angry, and then we deal with the consequences after. And when we are back in our normal state, your normal state now has to deal with the consequences of an anomaly. When you do get angry, you have to deal with that whole situation. So let's move on. Let's go to Colossians chapter 3. Colossians chapter 3. And Colossians is right before Thessalonians and Timothy. after Galatians and Ephesians and Corinthians, and right after Philippians.
Colossians chapter 3 and verse 1. If you then be risen with Mashiach, seek those things which are above, where Mashiach sits on the right hand of Yahweh. Set your affections on things above, not on things on the earth.
All right. So set your affection on things above. Your flesh is something here that's below. Set your affection on the things and the ways of the Most High. That way, when you are in a situation where you out of your normal state, your body and your emotion is used to trying to make decisions based on righteousness. Whether you're happy, whether you're sad, whether you're anxious, whether you're afraid, whatever the case may be, you're not used to allowing your emotion to make that decision, or a specific emotion. Now, usually, when we are lustful, okay, we got that under control. I'm lustful. I'm not going to go deal with this woman because, I can't. It's unlawful. She's married or I don't know this woman, or whatever the case may be. I got that in control. Well, I'm afraid. Well, I'm not finna not keep these commandments because I'm afraid of what these people are. I got everything under control. All the way until you get angry. And that used to be a big condition I would have. I can control everything. Do this, that. I can sit here and be humble, do all this stuff. But then soon as you piss me off, it goes out the window. That's because I was setting my affection on myself. I was setting my affection on things here. No. Oh, no. I don't like that. You gonna think you can keep doing this to me. Because when I was younger, I used to find myself in situations where I couldn't do anything about it. Because I was a child in a neighborhood dealing with whatever situations I had to deal with. And so when I became an adult and couldn't nobody stop me, I couldn't quell that anger because ain't nobody finna stop me. I'm gonna do what I want to do. You do this to me, well, I'm gonna deal with you. I'm gonna deal with this. But at the end of the day, I was setting my affection on myself because you did this to me. You did this in this carnal thing that you did. It wasn't like you cut off my spirit. You cut off my ability to speak with the Most High. You cut off my ability to repent. It wasn't nothing spiritual. It was something carnal, like you done messed up my car. You done stepped on my shoe. You done said something about me I ain't like. That's all carnal things that's here. None of that has to do with anything that's going on where we're trying to get to, into the kingdom of heaven.
That reminds me of what King Dawid said about how only you have I sinned against. And it kind of puts it into perspective that sometimes when other people do things to you, not to take it so personally, because they're not necessarily doing it against us, but more so they're doing it against Yahweh, the Father. And I think having that perspective allows you to, set your affections on things that are above.
Right.
Think
That's excellent. That's an excellent precept to go with verse 2. When you set your affections on things above, you're not worried about what somebody did to you on this earth, because we're not above, we here. You worried about what somebody doing to Yahweh. So you're saying, listen, Yahweh gonna deal with this. Now your whole conversation is different. You think you doing something to me. And as we get in this word, you see, we start to distance ourselves from certain people because it's like, you just don't get it. You think you doing this to the old person, but you doing this to Yahweh, because I'm a servant of the Most High. And I'm trying not to do nothing to you, but you keep coming at me. So let me remove myself, because Yahweh gonna deal with you because you sinning against him. So your whole thing is different now. Whereas, you want a problem? You got a problem? Or you got something to say? Well, say it. Let's get into it. You setting your affection on things here and not looking at the big picture. So that's an excellent time precept with that. That's like a whole class in itself. Go ahead.
Verse 3. For you are dead, and your life is hid with Mashiach in Yahweh. When Mashiach, who is our life, shall appear, then shall you also appear with him in glory. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. For which things' sake the wrath of Elohim comes on the children of disobedience, in the which you also walked sometime when you lived in them.
All right. So we're talking about mortifying your members, which is your body parts, yourself, your body. Kill it. Allow yourself to walk in the spirit. But when you deal with fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, all of these things are idolatry, because you are putting all your focus on sensual, earthly, lust, flesh-filled things. But if you're setting yourself on the Most High, I'm looking for a situation where this is going to bring glory unto the Most High. It ain't going to bring glory unto the Most High for me to be sleeping with my auntie or sleeping with my cousin or on my father's side or just constantly putting myself in an unclean state through masturbation or evil concupiscence, covetousness, all these different things which got nothing to do with Yahweh. If I stay in that constant state, I'm not focusing on things above. I'm constantly focusing on myself. So these are the things that are not Christ-like. He said, keep that focus there. If you keep that focus there, you might be able to quell some of these things where it doesn't become to a point where you're doing all these things and it's keeping you unclean in the spirit and in the flesh. Go ahead. Start back at verse 6.
Okay. For which thing's sake the wrath of Elohim comes on the children of disobedience, in the which you also walked sometime when you lived in them. But now you also put off all these: anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, which is renewed in knowledge after the image of him that created him. Where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcision nor uncircumcision, barbarian, Scythian, bond nor free, but Mashiach is all and in all.
And that's based on the image of the creature that created you. So in the image of the Mashiach, that's a spiritual image. That ain't got nothing to do with how you physically look. This is a new body that's inside of you, a new spirit that's inside of you. And that spirit don't have a flesh where it comes with, it's a Yehudim or it's a Goyim or it's a barbarian or Scythian or it's somebody who's in bondage or somebody who's in freedom. That spirit is from the Creator. That spirit is completely different. That is a new spirit that you have taken into your body and decided to retain inside of your vessel. So in understanding that, we can't carry that vessel in wrath and anger and blasphemy and filthy communication and all these different things that causes your vessel to be unclean, because you're not going to take diamonds and put it in a poop basket. You're not going to put that in there. You're going to put it in somewhere clean because it's a precious jewel. It's something that's worthwhile. Go ahead.
Verse 12. Put on therefore as the elect of Elohim, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering, forbearing one another and forgiving one another. If any man have a quarrel against any, even as Mashiach forgave you, so also do you.
And that's not going to kill you. If somebody got a problem with you for no reason, you can make it worse by continuing the beef. Or you can say, you know what, brother, if you said that, it's all right. I forgive you. Or it's all right. Well, if I offended you, well, I'm sorry for offending you. That ain't going to kill you to do that. The Mashiach has forgiven us for all the sins that we've done. Go ahead.
And above all these things, put on charity, which is the bond of perfectness.
Love. Go ahead.
And let the peace of Elohim rule in your hearts, to the which also you are called in one body, and be you thankful. Let the word of Mashiach dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to Elohim. And whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Master Yeshua, giving thanks to Yahweh and the Father by him.
All right, and this is also another reason why we pray through Yeshua. We pray through this word, giving thanks to Elohim and the Father by this word. This word right here, this is how you give thanks. And this word right here was made into flesh. And that was Yahshua HaMashiach. Go ahead.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands, as it is fit in Yahweh.
All right. So wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands. There's this Hebrew understanding like somehow man has some kind of lordship over any woman. No, that don't mean that. It just says the woman is not supposed to usurp authority over a man by teaching in the congregation. Over men. That's what that means, by being the leader. That doesn't mean that she has to submit to every man that comes around. No, she submit to her father, and she submit to her husband, or she submit to her priest, whoever's a leadership over her. Not every man that walk by, she got to submit and do what he says. That's foolishness. That's not in this book. Go ahead.
Husbands, love your wives, and be not bitter against them. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well-pleasing unto Yahweh. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing Elohim.
All right, so when it's saying servants, which some of them will actually say slaves, obey your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of the heart, fearing Elohim. You alone have I sinned against, Yahweh. Well, it's the same thing who you work. When you do work, you're working for Yahweh. Because at the end of the day, if you walking with a big Nike check on you while you're playing basketball on national TV, if you suck, that's putting a bad mark on Nike. People like, man, Nike be putting garbage people on they stuff. They're not going to pick the bench guy and give him a Nike deal. It's the same thing with us. We are branded by Yahweh. We are branded by Yasharal. So when we work for somebody, they supposed to get top-notch service, regardless of how they are. That doesn't mean we let them mistreat us, but we do good job so they can say, man, them Hebrews be doing some work. They be putting in some work. They do good. Man, Yahweh's blessing them. Everything they touch. Look at Yaakov. Everything he touched when he was with Laban, his uncle, everything he touched would blow up. All the speckled animals were blowing up. And all the pure animals were weaning down. Go ahead. That ain't just be some Uncle Tom and let somebody talk to you any kind of way or kiss somebody behind. No, it ain't got nothing to do. Do a best job like you was working for yourself. Act like you was working for Yahweh. When you do that, then you're going to put good works and you're going to be blessed and you're going to increase regardless.
Verse 23. And whatsoever you do, do it heartily as to Yahweh and not unto men, knowing that of Yahweh you shall receive the reward of their inheritance, for you shall serve the Master Mashiach.
All right. So whatsoever you do, do it heartily as to Yah and not unto men. So he's letting you know with this precept, but they will like to pull these little single lines out here to make it look like this book trying to tell you to be a slave. Now, they translated it from Greek into English for whatever reason to make it seem that way. They could have used different words. Like they didn't have to use master. They could have used sovereign, or they could have used different English word. But they chose to do this so that it could be used to hold us back. But it doesn't mean we throw out the whole book. No, we get into the real precepts of the book and make sure that we apply ourselves to that. Finish it up.
But he that does wrong shall receive for the wrong which he has done, and there is no respect of persons.
All right. And shalom, Brother Keith Nikolai. Good to see you. Let's move on. Let's go to Marcus chapter 3. Mark chapter 3. So now you're going to see that everybody gets angry. Even Yahshua got angry. But what did he do when he was angry? And we know he got angry several times. We know another time he got angry and started whipping folks. But why did he get angry? Because you disrespected him? Because you called him a name? Because you didn't believe in him? No, he got angry for his father. Very similar to Moshe. He got angry for his people, not because you did something against him. I know 99% of the time I got angry because you did something to me. That 1% you did to somebody that was with me. You shouldn't have did that because they cool with me. So I'm seeing also a lack of humility. All this time I'm getting angry is really just because of me. That ain't good.
Mark chapter 3 and verse 1. And he entered again into the synagogue, and there was a man there which had a withered hand. And they watched him whether he would heal him on the Sabbath day, that they might accuse him. And he said unto the man which had the withered hand, Stand forth. And he said unto them, Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath day, or to do evil, to save life, or to kill? But they held their peace. And when he had looked around about on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he said unto the man, Stretch forth your hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other.
All right. So Yahshua is angered because of lack of belief. The hardness of their hearts, where you couldn't answer the question easily. Of course it's lawful to do good. It's not lawful to do evil. But because of the hardness of their hearts, they refused to answer because they wanted to be in a correct position all the time. So when he was angered, he could have cussed them all out. He could have sent fire from heaven. Instead, he just did the good deed. He gonna do the good deed regardless, whether he's angry, happy, sad, whatever the case may be. So we have to learn when we're angry to not let it affect the job that we have to do. Whatever we got to do, be angry and sin not. Do your works. Don't let anything get in the way of you doing what you have to do. Because for all you know, that may be the only reason Yah is dealing with you, for you to do whatever job it is that he has for you to do. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And the Pharisees went forth and straightway took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him.
So the Pharisees went to Esau. Go ahead.
But Yahshua withdrew himself with his disciples to the sea, and a great multitude from Galilee followed him, and from Judea, and from Jerusalem, and from Idumea, and from beyond Jordan, and they about Tyre and Sidon, a great multitude, when they had heard what great things he did, came unto him. And he spake to his disciples that a small ship should wait on him because of the multitude, lest they should throng him. For he had healed many, insomuch that they pressed upon him for to touch him, as many as had plagues. And unclean spirits, when they saw him, fell down before him and cried, saying, You are the Son of Elohim. And he straitly charged them that they should not make him known. And he goeth up into a mountain, and called unto him whom he would. And they came unto him. And he ordained 12 that they should be with him, and that he might send them forth to preach.
All right. Let's stop there. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Let me grab that.
Shalom, sis.
All right, so we had Ecclesiastes chapter 7.
All right. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse.
Hold on, give it
okay.
a chance to,
No problem.
and me
I'm gonna grab some
to
water.
get caught up. All right. So we just went over with Yahshua how he was angered at the disbelief of the people when he asked the question point blank. He said, is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath, or is it lawful to do evil? And everybody's kind of like don't want to say nothing. And he was angered But in his anger, he didn't cuss anybody. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't, condemn anybody. He went and did his deed. He did the good deed. And when you look at Yahshua and we look at Moshe, two people that obviously got angered, because anger is a human emotion, you find that they were angered for other people. They weren't always angered for themselves. A lot of times we find ourselves getting angry because what you did to me, or because of myself. I don't like this, or I don't like that. And we got to get out of that, because anger is a real emotion that we got to deal with, but we got to remove ourselves. And Brother West brought up a good point when he talked about how Dawid said, you alone have I sinned against. And once we understand that concept, what we were reading earlier in Proverbs, Mishlei, it says, set your affection on things above and not on the things of this earth, on the things below. And when you are setting your affection and you're setting your mind towards Yahweh, you alone have I sinned against, then when somebody else does something against you, you can remove yourself from the anger and say, listen, you're doing this to Yahweh. You might not want to do this. I know you think you're coming against me or you're doing a certain thing, but you're sinning against Yah. So instead of you did this to me and getting angry, you might be able to pull back and turn and reason with somebody. And Yah's laws, which we went over in Exodus and in Numbers, shows how far the Most High is willing to go to promote peace. So Ecclesiastes chapter 7, and we're going to start this at verse 1.
A good name is better than precious ointment, and the day of death than the day of one's birth. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by sadness of the countenance of the heart, for by the sadness of the countenance of the heart,
by the sadness of the countenance, the heart is made better. Correct.
The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools.
All right, so the heart of the wise and sorrow. Why would sorrow and being in the house of mourning and the day of your death and all, why would all these different things be better for you to be in those situations? What are some of the reasons why we think it's better to be in that state?
In a sorrowful state?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it can be humbling, I think, but also I think you're more reflective when you're sorrowful, as opposed to anger, at least.
Right. We're ready to receive. What is the sacrifices of Elohim?
A broken spirit and a contrite heart.
Right, a broken spirit and a humble and contrite heart. So, those things don't come about easily when you're celebrating and everything is working fine. Because you feel whatever I'm doing is working, because let the good times roll. Whereas when things aren't working right and you're in sorrow, you're reflective, like you said. You're thinking like, man, how do I get out of this situation? What have I done? What is it that's causing me to be in this manner? I guess that thing that I did that I thought I got away with is catching up with me. Well, how do I make these changes? Go ahead.
For as the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool. This is also vanity. Surely oppression makes a wise man mad, and a gift destroys the heart. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit.
And that is the difference between a wrathful person and a humble person. The wrathful person is proud in spirit. How dare you do this to me? You could have did it to anybody else, that ain't gonna bother me. But when you decided to do it to me, you picked the wrong one. That's a proud in spirit. But patient in spirit is, you know what? I'm about to deal with this, but let me be patient. Let me allow my anger to pass. That way I can properly hear the instructions of the Most High, how to deal with this, not only for me, but also for the other person that's involved in it. But when you're angry, you just want to deal with you and what's going to satisfy your flesh and what's going to get you a quick answer to what it is that you're dealing with.
Verse 9. Be not hasty in your spirit to be angry, for anger rests in the bosom of fools.
So we got to remember that as well, to not get angered easily. Now, I always considered myself somebody who didn't get angered easily, but when I did get angry, it was very hot. But what's easy? Some people can consider, this being Moshe, it's like we've been doing this walking for months now, and you doing this, and it finally got him angry. These 10 times you came against Yah. Same thing with Yah. It ain't the first time we sinned that Yah struck us down with affliction or tribulation. It's over and over and over. So the same thing we just read in Colossians, where it talks about, hey, listen, the Mashiach has forgiven us for our sins, that we should forgive one another for the things that are done up against us. Because at the end of the day, one thing we know is going to happen for sure is you are going to reap what you sow. So you know that if they sow wickedness, they're going to reap a wicked reward. And if you sow righteousness, you're going to receive a righteous reward. So we got to remember that in our anger as well.
Verse 10. Say not you, what is the cause of the former days were better than these? For you do not inquire wisely concerning this. Wisdom is good with an inheritance, and by it there is profit to them that see the sun. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to them that have it. Consider the work of Elohim, for who can make that straight which he has made crooked? In the day of prosperity be joyful, but in the day of adversity consider. Elohim has also set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him. All things have I seen in the days of my vanity. There is a just man that perishes in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man that prolongs his life in his wickedness.
All right. So you have to be patient to see the end of a matter. So it looks like, a righteous man, he died. Yahshua. Righteous man perished. And then you have the wicked man that's prolonging his life. You see Yehudas Iscariot. He's still living. He's running off. But guess what? What was the end of him? What's the end of anybody that lived on? The Rothschilds, the guy that had 8 heart transplants that just finally died. What's the end of him? He died just like everybody else. But what happens after that? That's what we have to consider. So if you are living your life to see the good end while you're alive, then you're going to make certain decisions to ensure that happens. But if you're living by setting your affections on things above, then you're going to prioritize that. And like we read earlier in multiple different scriptures that we read, that he is always merciful to those that wait on him. Go ahead.
Be not righteous over much, neither make yourself over wise. Why should you destroy yourself?
Okay. Stick with the basics. Understand righteousness first. Understand what you're supposed to do. Don't keep adding on these additional commandments onto yourself, trying to make yourself better, knowing you still struggling with basic things. But what happens is we like to think of ourselves better than we are. So we think, okay, 613 commandments. Out of 613 commandments, take away all the blood sacrifice commandments and everything else left. That's what we have. That's what we have to deal with. Knowing we still sin in those things, why are we trying to add additional things? Or, well, we're not drinking alcohol, or we're not going to do this, or we're not going to do that. And there's no commandment doing that. Now, if that thing is causing problems in your life, that's common sense. Stop causing a problem in your life. Stop doing those things. But to add these extra commandments, it's why would you heap this stuff on yourself?
Reminds me of the Super Brew stuff.
Right, the Super Brew. Why would you destroy yourself? You making like you got tights under your skirt. You're transgressing the law. Where do you get this from? This stuff is ridiculous. You adding extra things. Now, a woman, I don't care if she got on a skirt that touched the bottom of her feet or she got on some tights. If the thing is extra tight and you can see the whole body, it's inappropriate. It ain't got to be a tight. It could be whatever you want. It could be a head cover, whatever. Wrap yourself with one long head cover. If it's showing your whole body and people have to look the other direction, that's a problem. But all this extra rules and adding all making up things. I know it doesn't say that in here, and I know the Strongs don't say it, and I know it doesn't. There's no judgment in here against doing that, and I know there's no example of somebody doing that exact same thing and them getting this consequence, but you shouldn't do it. What that's going to do is make somebody who's already struggling trying to do these things feel like they can't do anything. Now, if you want to do that in your life, hey, go above and beyond. That's for you. But don't turn around and try to rebuke somebody for somebody transgressing your law. Go ahead.
Verse 17. Be not overmuch wicked, neither be you foolish. Why should you die before your time? It is good that you should take hold of this. Yea, also from this withdraw not your hand, for he that fears Elohim shall come forth of them all. Wisdom strengthens the wise more than 10 mighty men which are in the city. For there is not a just man upon earth that does good and sins not.
Now remember that. There's not a just man upon earth that does good and sins not. That man gone. He left. He coming back. We waiting on him to come back. So in understanding that, you should be compassionate and merciful that he had to come down here and die for us, because what nobody else here that was going to be able to stand up for us, that could cover us, could be propitiation for us. So he had to come down. So just like we read again in Colossians, we have to forgive others for what they've done to us, because they're not perfect, just like we're not perfect. So if Yahshua can forgive and wipe away all the stuff we did, even after we knew we were doing wrong, then how are we going to hold every person to this high standard that they just cannot make no mistakes, they just cannot sin? That don't mean that you allow people to do things against you or against your Elohim, but don't be angered and brought into a wrathful state because somebody did one wrong thing to you. And that's how we are. Person do 100 good things for you, do 100 good things, and as soon as they do one bad thing, we ready to cast them out. Oh, you're a sinner. You're horrible because you done said something about me. You done did something about me. What about all the other good things people did for you? And this is something that I had to bring into my own spirit, because that's not my nature. My nature is I got like a memory of an elephant, I believe. I remember everything. I remember you did something. I held a grudge against a girl that broke up with me in 6th grade all the way into college. She broke up with me in 6th grade. I seen her, you know, she's from the same place I'm from. We in way away from where we from, seeing each other in college. And, you know, she said, hey, happy to see me. I'm like, what up? Holding this grudge for what? That's how we are, because of how we are. So what we got to do is we got to forget these things, not remember every little thing that we did. You know, some person done cheated on me. I didn't, you know, well, how many times you done cheated? We all done did mistakes. Ain't nobody perfect. So if nobody is perfect, then we should have perfect forgiveness and perfect mercy and perfect patience with people, because we know if we around somebody long enough, they're going to mess up. And praise Yah if you're there to help rebuke them and help them get back on their feet. But instead, we get angry at somebody.
Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 21.
And this is a perfect follow for right after verse 20.
Also take no heed unto all words that are spoken, lest you hear your servant curse you.
So people gonna talk. People gonna talk about you. They're gonna talk about your situation. They're gonna talk behind your back. That's human nature. You know, it is what it is. But guess what? Have you not done the same thing? Didn't you just finish doing the same thing with the same person? Because the person talking ain't her first time or his first time talking. So you've talked to him or her before about it. She or him or have talked to you about somebody else. So you know that's what people do. So don't take that in consideration all the time. Now, if it's continual back talk and talking about you and constantly bringing up your name, then you got to address that. But if you hear one situation, somebody says something, man, don't worry about that thing. Because at the end of the day, if it's something that you need to focus on it. And if that person constantly is showing in their actions that they care for you, that they want the best for you, then don't worry about somebody say one little thing about you. But we from the city of don't let anything slide. So soon as somebody say something, we ready to deal with something. Imagine if we got dealt with every time we talked about somebody. we'd be being dealt with all day long. And doctrine, because he's not trying to keep the law. He's going to transgress the law if it fits him, if it's pleasing unto him, if it's convenient for him. And anybody that will do that is going to be taken by a wicked woman the same way, because you're already acting in that manner in your heart. So it'd be a man, woman, whoever. It doesn't have to be a woman. It could be a man. Oh, your own friend, your own boy misleads you because your heart already easily taken astray by the lust of the flesh.
Verse 27. Behold, this have I found, says the preacher, counting one by one to find out the account, which yet my soul seeks, but I find not. One man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found. Lo, this only have I found, that Elohim has made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions.
All right, so it says, which yet my soul I find not. One man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found. Well, you had 1,000 wives. You telling me you couldn't find one woman out of 1,000 wives? Obviously, you looking in the wrong place. You need to look for the women that's not wives, I guess. And that was his tactic. I'm gonna look over here with the not wives, and I still can't find them. To the point you had 1,000. All right, let's go to the conclusion. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 15. And this is one verse in here that I'm still trying to work on as far as mastering it. Giving a soft answer. It's very hard for me to give a soft answer. It's just my mouth will just come out and tell you the truth. But I won't soften it. And I used to hide behind the truth and say, "What? It's the truth. You an idiot. It's the truth. What you want me to do? Hey, what you mad at me for? You stupid. What? But did I lie? Did I lie? Wesley, did I lie? Did you see this dude? Dude got 15 on his SAT. You get 20 points for your name. So he's, but you hurting somebody. You creating wrath. I'm like, well, he can't beat me. That's what everybody say. Well, he can't beat me. What are you going to do? Right. Nah, that's not it. A soft answer turns away wrath. And sometimes a soft answer could be found right in this book. And sometimes a soft answer is no answer. Just quiet. Proverbs, Mishlei, chapter 15, let's start this at verse 1.
A soft answer turns away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise uses knowledge aright, but the mouth of fools pours out foolishness. And
even grievous words can stir up your own anger. You make your own self angry. Did he really do that? Oh, he really did this to me. Oh, this brother, he must think I'm a fool. Oh, he think I'm soft. Oh, he must not know where I'm from. Oh, I'm super brew. He don't know what, you stirring up your own stuff with these grievous words. But you give yourself soft answers like, hey, listen, calm down. This brother's younger, he's newer, or sister has gone through some things, hey, I can ruffle people's feathers, let me lead by example. They're not trying to hear what I have to say, so let me show them what I'm trying to say by walking in right, and that will turn away your wrath. Go ahead. Go ahead, sis. You gotta grab the phone.
I just have a question in regarding to the Proverbs 15. A soft answer can turn away wrath, but you always hear them say "cry out loud," and they use that as a way to be rude or say you have to cry loud because that's what you're supposed to do.
Right. That was taken out of context.
I thought so.
I could put that back in context for you.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, because when I was looking at this, people say, well, when you give such a sultry answer or a nice answer, you're being deceived. That's the devil. Mm-hmm. So how can you balance those two out, where someone's not thinking you the devil, or that you want a soft answer can turn away wrath, or they're thinking you're the devil, or they say, no, you need to cry out loud.
All right. So I would answer that with Jude chapter 1. And I will go to verse 21. It says, keep yourselves in the love of Elohim, looking for the mercy of our Adonai Yahshua HaMashiach unto eternal life. And of some have compassion, making a difference. and of others save with fear, pulling them out the fire, hating even the garments spotted by the flesh. So it depends on the situation. You know, you have situations where you're in war and there's gunfire and it's loud and there's confusion that you gotta yell at somebody. Red team, go. Blue team, stay. Go, retreat, move, stop. You know, and it's, if you're in a public situation like some of the brothers up north and it's crowds of people and everybody's moving around, then you got to yell to get people's attention. Cry out loud. When it's talking about crying out loud, it's because death and danger was right there at the door. So some of these brothers feel like death and danger is right there at the door. And if that's necessary to scream out so people can hear you, that's why they got the megaphones and do what you do. But you can still be loud and still have a soft answer to somebody. Hey, you know, brothers, repent. Christ loves you. Yahshua loves you. You are the chosen ones. Those are soft words. That's not stirring up wrath just because you're loud. Or you can sit here and tell somebody, you ain't crap. You wear your fringes. That's right. Yelling at somebody, screaming. That ain't turning away somebody's wrath because you approaching them about their dress code. They're already uncomfortable. So it's application. Things need to be taken in context. Now, I respect any brother that can go out in the corner and preach because I've done that. I've been out there. That's not easy, especially we've been around the homeless and doing, these people tell you anything. But it's all about doing things with appropriateness. So you can't tell the person that's yelling you're wrong because you're yelling. You have to look at the situation and circumstance. And you can't tell the person that's speaking softly because I can be as knowledgeable as ever and go out there on Canal Street or go out there on Broadway or go out there on the Ave, Jamaica Ave, and want to sit here and talk to folks and be like, hey, brother, you know, you need to stop. You know, we could send Wesley out there and he can go there and talk. They wouldn't hear him. They wouldn't hear Wesley. We'd have to give him a horn so that he can scream. He's very soft-spoken. There's a time and place. But now me, on the other hand, you probably would hear me. I'm loud. There's different places for different things. And sometimes I come to people, scare the crap out of people when I talk to them. They're like, why are you yelling at me? I'm like, we Jamaican. We from Miami. This is how we talk. We loud. You know what I'm saying? Probably the Dominican or Puerto Rican probably the only one's louder than me. But it's all about appropriateness. So what people would do is try to paint a broad brush over everything. You can't do that. That's why it's line by line, precept by precept.
Verse 3. The eyes of Yahweh are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. A wholesome tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. A fool despises his father's instruction, but he that regards reproof is prudent. In the house of the righteous is much treasure, but in the revenues of the wicked is trouble.
All right, so in the house of the righteous, you can look around and be like, well, I don't, you know, they got a lot of stuff. But there's much treasure because there's love in there. There's protection. There's counsel. There's patience. There's mercy. There's all these things that children can grow up and seeing in the household and say, wait a minute, everybody's here from Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Everybody's keeping the Shabbat. Everybody's here for holy days. I hear everybody else partying outside for Christmas, but we not dealing with that. Those are treasures. Those are things that are passed down from generation to generation to generation. Because all the misteaching was passed down to us generation and generation and generation. And we could have been in these big old rich houses with great parents making all this money. And there's nothing but foolishness in there. Go ahead.
Verse 7. The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the heart of the foolish does not so. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to Yahweh, but the prayer of the upright is his delight.
And the lips of the wise disperse knowledge because they're not speaking from the heart. They're speaking from the spirit. But fools speak from the heart. And depending on what the situation is, whether they're jealous or whether they're angry or whether they're lustful or whether they're happy or whatever, it's just going to pour out. You don't know what you're going to get because they're coming straight from the heart. Telling you my heart is pure. You know my heart. Yeah, it's wicked.
The way of the wicked is an abomination unto Yahweh, but he loves him that follows after righteousness. Correction is grievous unto him that forsakes the way, and he that hates reproof shall die.
Because if you can't take reproof, what else he going to do for you? You can't take correction. You can't take reproof. There's nothing else for you to do to die.
The grave and destruction are before Yahweh. How much more than the hearts of the children of men? A scorner loves not one that reproves him, neither will he go unto the wise. A merry heart makes a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart the spirit is broken.
And this is why we have to be in such a broken state as the children of Yasharah, because that's the only way that we can receive righteousness. I don't get it twisted. I don't know anybody that came in this word because they won the lotto. Or they came in this word because they got that new NFL contract and said, you know what, I'm going to find righteousness. Nah, they got afflicted. Then they started asking questions. That's why I said in the house of the righteous is in the house of the sorrowful. Because your house sorrowful, because that's what it took for you to look up and be like, man, this is not working. I thought this was good. Just believe and you ain't got to do nothing. And I put money in the plate. Why am I having these problems? Why, if it's not even you, why is my mama? Why is my child? Why can't my money get me out of this situation? So this is why we have to be constantly broken down, because that's the only way we'll learn. And once we get ourselves to a state where we can learn without being broken down, we can learn by walking in righteousness and say, you know what? This is why I need to be doing this, because I see the good things that are coming out of this. Not the material things, but the spiritual gifts that I see are coming out of this. Let me learn like this, to the point where you even think of doing evil and you already chastening yourself because of the thought of evil. Go ahead.
Verse 14. The heart of him that has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouth of fools feeds on foolishness. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart has a continual feast. Better is little with the fear of Yahweh than great treasure and trouble therewith. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a stalled ox and hatred therewith. A wrathful man stirs up strife, but he that is slow to anger appeases strife. The way of the slothful man is as a hedge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain. A wise son makes a glad father, but a foolish man despises his mother. Folly is joy to him that is destitute of wisdom, but a man of understanding walks uprightly. Without counsel purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors they are established. A man has joy by the answer of his mouth, and a word spoken in due season. How good is it?
How good is it when two brothers is about to tear the place apart and somebody speaks soft words and quells the wrath? Hey, brother, aren't y'all Israelites? Didn't y'all get immersed? Aren't they trying to kill us? So you kill your brother, who gonna watch your back? You know what? That's a good point. This the same brother that had my back when we was 12 and those boys tried, I forgot about that. It's just, man, you be doing this crap. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, man. Oh, I love you, man. Go ahead.
The way of life is above to the wise, that he may depart from the grave beneath. Yahweh will destroy the house of the proud, but he will establish the border of the widow. The thoughts of the wicked are an abomination to Yahweh, but the words of the pure are pleasant words. He that is greedy of gain troubles his own house, but he that hates gifts shall live. The heart of the righteous studies to answer, but the mouth of the wicked pours out evil things. Yahweh is far from the wicked, but he hears the prayer of the righteous. The light of the eyes rejoiceth the heart, and a good report makes the bones fat. The ear that hears the reproof of life abides among the wise. He that refuses instruction despises his own soul, but he that hears reproof gets understanding. The fear of Yahweh is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility.
And before honor is humility. We're not going to change the order of things. So like I said earlier, at least in my situation, a lot of situations I've encountered, people with very bad tempers are usually lacking some kind of humility. Not all, because some people are very humble. And then when you come against them and go above and beyond, they are so angry. Like I know my father was that way. He had a bad temper because he was so kind to everybody and so kind in situations and so unselfish that when somebody actually did something, he's surprised that anybody would actually do that after all the kindness he has given. But at the end of the day, where most of us fail is in humility. So if we want to receive the honor, and the greatest honor we could receive is to be called friend by the Mashiach, then we have to humble ourselves, not remember everything that somebody says about us. And if we're going to err, like I always say, err on the side of mercy. So that's all we're going to do today. Any last questions or comments before we close in prayer? All right. And thank you, Miss Clarita Winters, for your kind comment. So let's go ahead and close in a prayer. All brothers remove their head coverings, and all sisters pray with their heads covered. And we face the east towards Jerusalem. Abba Father, Yahweh, Elohim, the Allah of Abraham, Yashak, and Yaakov. Covenant Father, Elohim of Yasharal. Once again, we thank you, Yahweh, for providing us a means and a desire to come together, to read out of your scriptures, to rightly divide this word, and to gain some understanding, Yahweh. Not for knowledge's sake, Yahweh, but so that we can depart from evil and also help lead others away from the snares and the traps that cause them not to be fruitful, Yahweh. So we're thankful that we can take part of that. We're thankful that we can receive of the goodness of your spirit and belief through your holy, humble, anointed Son, Yahshua HaMashiach, in which we pray. Amen.
Amen. Good lesson.
Yeah, it was a good class.
Yeah, those anger and wrath classes are classics.
Those were good. No, because I always hear, people say, cry out aloud. I'm like, y'all